There comes a moment in life when holding on too tightly begins to suffocate us. We think that if we can just control every detail, every outcome, then we'll be safe, happy, and fulfilled. But here's the truth. Control is an illusion. The real transformation happens the moment you let go. That's when life begins to unfold in ways you never could have planned, ways that feel like miracles. When you hold on too tightly to what you believe life should be, you unknowingly place yourself in a prison of your own making. The human mind, when trapped in the need to control, narrows its vision to the small confines of certainty. But life was never meant to be lived in a box drawn by fear. Life is vast, unpredictable, filled with both chaos and beauty, and it is within that chaos that the soul finds its true growth. To let go is not to abandon direction. It is to allow the unconscious forces of life to reveal paths you could never have imagined on your own. Control, in its deceptive comfort, gives you the illusion that you are safe, but in truth, it suffocates the unknown possibilities that are trying to find their way to you. We speak of miracles as if they are rare, as if they belong only to the chosen few, yet they surround us constantly, hidden in the very spaces we refuse to open. The moment you loosen your grip, the air rushes in. There is room for chance, for surprise, for the unconscious to rise to the surface and guide you. This is not a call to carelessness, but a return to trust. The trust that you are part of something larger than your will, something far wiser than your limited plans. Imagine the difference between a clenched fist and an open hand. One holds desperately, the other receives freely. When your spirit opens, life places gifts into your hands without force, without demand. These gifts are not always what you expected, but they are always what you need for your evolution. Letting go is an act of deep humility, a recognition that your conscious mind does not hold the full map of your destiny. The seed you plant in the soil will not bloom because you hovered over it in fear. It will bloom because you trusted the soil, the rain, the sunlight to play their roles. In the same way, your life blooms when you allow it to unfold, without tearing it apart in search of premature certainty. At the root of our compulsion to control lies fear, silent, persistent, and often disguised as responsibility. We say we control because we care, because we want the best outcome, but beneath that surface is a deep discomfort with uncertainty. This fear whispers that if we do not oversee every detail, things will fall apart, we will be left behind, or we will lose something we love. Yet fear does not create safety, it creates tension. It narrows your perception so that you see only threats where there could be opportunities. Control is not strength. It is the armor you wear when you do not trust the world or yourself to handle the unknown. And while armor protects, it also isolates. You may shield yourself from pain, but you also shield yourself from joy, intimacy, and the serendipity that makes life worth living. The paradox is that the more we try to control, the more fragile we become. We exhaust ourselves guarding against every possible storm, yet storms are part of nature. They cleanse, they transform, they make room for new landscapes. Fear convinces us that without control, we are powerless, but in truth, it is the surrender of control that grants us real power. This is because control operates from the conscious mind, which sees only fragments, while surrender invites the unconscious to speak, a wisdom that holds the whole. To trust this deeper order is to step into a more expansive life, where you respond to what comes rather than attempting to force what should be. You will still make choices, still act with intention, but you will no longer be driven by the tightness of fear. Instead, you will be guided by a calm certainty that you are moving in rhythm with something greater, something that does not need your constant supervision to work in your favor. In the moments you feel fear tightening its grip, pause and ask yourself, am I controlling because it serves me or because I am afraid? Often, simply seeing the fear beneath the control is enough to soften its hold. And when the hold softens, space opens again, and in that space, the first breath of a miracle begins. Control within relationships is a subtle poison. It rarely arrives in the form of blatant demands. More often, it is woven into quiet expectations, unspoken rules, and the constant need for reassurance that things are exactly as we think they should be. It masquerades as care, as love, as concern, but its true message is far less gentle. It says, "I cannot trust you to simply be." When we attempt to mold the other into the shape that makes us feel safe, we strip away their freedom to express their truest self. And in doing so, we also strip away the very mystery and vitality that drew us to them in the first place. The essence of human connection thrives on openness, on the willingness to witness someone as they are, not as we wish them to be. To control is to place walls where there should be windows. It is to monitor every breeze that comes in, fearing that one gust too strong will shatter the comfort we have built. But love and intimacy were never meant to be locked in airtight rooms. They are meant to breathe. A relationship that cannot breathe will suffocate under the weight of expectations. The irony is that our control, meant to protect the bond, often fractures it. People do not feel cherished when they are constantly managed. They feel doubted, diminished, unseen. When we let go of the need to control, we invite the other to meet us not out of obligation, but out of desire. That desire, born from freedom, is the most authentic form of connection. True closeness is not achieved through possession but through trust, a trust that the other will remain, not because they must, but because they choose to. And even if they do not, we remain whole within ourselves. In this wholeness, we no longer cling out of fear of loss. Instead, we embrace each moment of connection as a gift, not a guarantee. To surrender is one of the most misunderstood acts in human life. We confuse it with weakness, with giving up, with passivity. But surrender is not the absence of action. It is the presence of trust. It is the recognition that forcing a river to flow where we want will only exhaust us, while trusting its current will carry us farther than our own stubborn strokes. It takes far greater courage to loosen our grip than to cling tightly, for clinging feels active, as though our effort is keeping the world in order. Letting go feels like risk, like stepping off a ledge without seeing the ground. And yet, in that very moment of release, a strange and quiet strength rises within us. We realize that the universe does not collapse when we stop holding it together. We realize that life has its own structure, one that does not require our constant interference. This is not a call to passivity but to alignment, to act from a place of flow rather than resistance. When we surrender, we shift from trying to control outcomes to engaging with the present moment fully and authentically. We begin to respond to life rather than manipulate it, and in doing so, we open ourselves to possibilities far beyond our limited designs. The human ego resists this because it fears irrelevance, it fears the unknown, it fears the dissolution of its imagined power. But what dissolves in surrender is not our power, it is our illusion. And once the illusion falls away, what remains is the truest form of power, the ability to move through life without the constant burden of needing it to bend to our will. In surrender, there is a quiet dignity, a trust that whatever unfolds, we will meet it as we are, without pretense, without defense. We stop demanding that life meet our terms, and instead step into a deeper relationship with it, one in which we participate rather than dictate. This is the courage that transforms the soul, the courage to say, "I do not know what comes next, but I am ready to walk toward it with open hands." The most extraordinary moments in life rarely arrive according to our carefully drawn timelines. They slip in through the cracks when our attention is elsewhere, when we are not staring at the door we think opportunity should walk through. There is a quiet intelligence to the unplanned, a rhythm that belongs not to our conscious mind, but to the deeper layers of our being. These moments carry with them a kind of magic that logic cannot account for. We may call them coincidences, chance encounters, strokes of luck, but they are the visible signs of an unseen order working in our favor. When we cling too tightly to our plans, we not only exhaust ourselves, but also close the pathways through which these unexpected gifts might enter. We live as if the only good that can come to us is the good we can foresee and control. Yet so much of what truly shapes us lies beyond the reach of our foresight. The conversation that opens a new perspective, the detour that leads to a place we never knew we needed, the relationship that arrives without warning. These are not the products of strict control, but of openness. and openness requires surrender. The psyche itself does not evolve through rigid adherence to a single path, but through encounters with the unknown, with the uninvited elements that awaken something dormant within us. To welcome the unplanned is to recognize that life is not merely a sequence of tasks to be completed, but an unfolding mystery to be experienced. When we step back from our relentless directing, we create space for this mystery to breathe. And in that space, what we call miracles are born. Moments so perfectly timed, so deeply resonant, that they could not have been arranged by our conscious hand. There is a restlessness that comes from the constant need to control. It is an undercurrent of tension, a hum in the mind that never stops. Even in moments of apparent calm, the mind is busy scanning for what might go wrong, what needs fixing, what still isn't quite right. This state of vigilance robs us of peace, for peace cannot coexist with the ceaseless effort to anticipate and manipulate every possibility. When we let go of the need to control, we invite stillness back into our lives. We begin to experience a kind of inner quiet that is not dependent on external conditions, but arises from within. This peace is not the absence of movement in the outer world. It is the absence of frantic movement in the inner world. It is the space where we can finally hear our own voice again, unclouded by the noise of fear and expectation. In this stillness, life becomes more vivid, more immediate. We taste our food without rushing. We listen to others without formulating our reply. We notice the way the light falls in the late afternoon, the small gestures that carry love, the subtle shifts in the air before rain. These are the simple miracles that control blinds us to. To be at peace is not to withdraw from life, but to meet it from a place of grounded presence, where our actions are not reactions born of fear, but expressions of clarity. Peace is not won through the perfection of circumstances, but through the relinquishment of the belief that circumstances must be perfect for us to rest. The more we practice letting go, the more this peace becomes our natural state. It is a return to the self before it was consumed by the illusion of control. A self that moves through life with trust, with openness, with the quiet confidence that whatever comes, it will be met, understood, and ultimately integrated into the wholeness of our being. We live under the belief that we can see the whole picture of our lives, that our judgments about what is good or bad, right or wrong, are final truths. Yet the conscious mind is a narrow window, framing only a fragment of reality, while the greater architecture of our existence stretches far beyond our current awareness. What appears to us as loss may be the very condition necessary for growth. What feels like betrayal may, in time, reveal itself as liberation. There is an intelligence in life that moves through patterns too intricate for the conscious self to fully grasp. The events we resist often become the very experiences that deepen us, while the outcomes we cling to with desperation can leave us emptier than before. This is why trusting the flow of life is an act of profound psychological maturity. It is the recognition that we are not the sole architects of our destiny. To live in harmony with this deeper wisdom, we must soften our insistence that we know what is best at all times. The self that exists today does not yet know the self it is becoming, nor does it understand the experiences that will shape that emergence. There is humility in admitting that the path is not always ours to design, and there is a kind of freedom in stepping into the unknown without demanding guarantees. Life holds a vision for us that surpasses our immediate comprehension, and the more we resist its unfolding, the more we delay our own evolution. To trust it is to acknowledge that even the detours and delays are woven into the fabric of our becoming, each one carrying lessons that the conscious mind may only understand in hindsight. Detachment is often misunderstood as indifference, as though to detach is to stop caring, to sever ourselves from desire, or to withdraw from the richness of life. But true detachment is not the absence of care, it is the absence of clinging. It is loving fully without the desperate need to possess, working toward our dreams without the illusion that our worth depends on their outcome, and allowing joy to be experienced without attempting to trap it in permanence. The nature of life is impermanence, and the more we try to hold on to what is meant to flow, the more suffering we create. Detachment is the wisdom of participating in life wholeheartedly while releasing the belief that we can control its every turn. It allows us to give ourselves to relationships without the chains of expectation, to engage with our ambitions without being enslaved by them, to feel deeply without being consumed by fear of loss. This form of freedom does not numb us. It heightens our capacity to experience life in its fullness, because we are no longer weighed down by the anxiety of maintaining what cannot be fixed in place. In detachment, there is a calm openness to whatever comes and goes, a quiet recognition that nothing is truly ours to keep, yet everything is ours to experience. It is the art of holding life in open hands, knowing that what leaves may return in another form, and what remains will stay not because we forced it to, but because it belongs in our story for as long as it serves our growth. In this openness, we find the courage to love without fear, to dream without desperation, and to live without the endless burden of control. Life will never be fully under your control, and that is its greatest gift. The moment you stop wrestling with it is the moment you start dancing with it. So, ask yourself today, what can I let go of? Where can I make space for a miracle? If this message spoke to you, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what letting go means in your life. And if this inspired you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more life-changing conversations. Tell me what topics you'd love us to explore next. Your voice shapes this community, and together, we can create a space where transformation begins.